Hi, my guest today rose to stardom in the 1970s as television's TV's first black it girl. She has graced our televisions for almost 40 years because our iconic show Good Times is still in syndication around the country. And she's here today to talk about her TV One Life After episode, Life After Good Times. Help me welcome Miss Bern Nadette Stanis, better known as Thelma Evans, to the show. Hi.
How are you?
I am doing really good, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, Bernadette, I'm glad that we all finally get a chance to find out what happened to Thelma after Good Times. Were you surprised to get the call that Life After wanted to do a story on you?
Life After?
Yes.
Yes. It comes out the 8th, Monday.
Yeah. Were you surprised to get the call that they wanted to do a story on you?
Oh, yes, I was. It was wonderful when they called me and they wanted to do a story, and I said, certainly.
I know, that's right. Now, Good Times was such an iconic show, and it was only in production for like 5 years. And I'm just curious, what happened? Because to me, I thought the show was a great show because I was kind of young back then. Why was it only 5 years? Was it because of the viewing audience ratings were low? Because, I mean, today, as you see, so many people still watch the show.
Oh, no, it wasn't because of the viewing audience. In fact, it was at its peak. It was the weirdest thing. But I think Norman decided to go his own way with it. He was done with it. For some reason or another, he didn't want to go any further with it. He wanted to leave it at 5 years. And it was nothing anyone else could say. I mean, I do believe that a couple of the other actors wanted to do other things. But, of course, I was maybe one of the youngest ones on the show, so, of course, my opinion didn't really count. But, because I certainly wanted to do it longer.
Yeah, now, did you realize that show, just even in 5 years, was going to have such a great impact on our society today in 2012, and the show wrapped in 1979?
Absolutely not. I had no concept. To me, it was just a show. It was a show, And most shows come on, they go off, and you never hear of it again, But the show just held on. It had something to it. It was a magic. It was a beginning. It was a new thing. And I think because of the love and everything that Esther Rolle put into the show, and other people too, we all put a lot into that show. We were very true to the show. And I think it came off and it stuck and it made a great foundation and it lasted. And to this very day, people still identify with the show as if it's on right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's true.
Yes, and I believe that is true because when you look at the issues and things and the problems and the things that we go through today, it's not very much different than we went through then.
Mm-hmm.
And the morals and the ethics and the just the values are all in place there. And so I think that that's something that people want to show their children and their grandchildren.
Now, how did you get cast as the role of Thelma?
I was in a beauty pageant. And, and it was the beauty pageant. There was a manager, and he was, I guess, looking at people for a show. And he saw me, and he came over to my mother, and he said, she looks like she could fit into this television series that we're getting ready to cast, that's getting ready to be casted. So he gave my mother a card, and he told my mother to take me to CBS the next day, and my mother did, and I went in there, and it was like so many girls. It was like, you do the audition, but you never think twice about it because, come on, I'm a rookie. I've never done anything like this. All these girls are known and everything, and I'm just elated that I was picked to even go into an audition. And it was like, when I went into the room, it was Norman Lear sitting there, it was JJ in there, and I just went at it.
Wow. And look what happened, and look where it got you.
Yeah. And it was like, and I just think that maybe that was the destiny for me because I didn't fight for it, most times when you get a show like that, girls are really auditioning and fight, And I didn't even understand it. Let's put it that way. I didn't understand that whole process. So I just went in, did what I had to do, and I forgot about it. I didn't hear from, I heard from them about a month later, and they asked me to come to California. So my mother and I went to California. I auditioned there, went back home, didn't hear anything for about 3 months.
Wow.
So, of course, you know, if you audition, my mother said, well, baby, you didn't hear anything, so that's okay. We'll try other things. You know, it was like done for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 months later, around Christmas time, they called my mother and said that I got it.
After 3 months.
After 3 months.
Wow, because one thing I read about you is that you studied at Juilliard. Now, did you study acting at Juilliard?
Yes, I did.
So no wonder. So you must have been pretty good and made a big impact in your audition.
Well, I tried to do my best.
Going to Juilliard, so I think you nailed that one. It might have took them a minute, but they sure got back to you. And I'm going to tell you, it's like nobody else can play that role as Thelma, because with your training, it was so natural for you. And that's what I want to talk about, is your relationship that you had with your other siblings, Michael Evans, and also, I was going to say James Evans. That was your dad. But JJ, the relationship that you had with JJ, it was on the camera. It was so natural. Now, how did you develop that on-camera chemistry with your siblings on television?
Okay. Well, you know, I remember at the audition, they had us read something, and I was reading it, and it was so stiff to me. It was like, because, you know, I'm a girl from the projects, and I have brothers. So I was Thelma, you know, I knew what we would do at home, you know, in the two bedrooms, a little living room, a little better. So don't tell me that we come in there and we go, James Jr., da-da-da-da-da. We don't talk like that. It's like, brother, get out of the way. Move. You know, I'm like, no. You know, we talk to our brothers like that, you know what I'm saying? And especially the sisters, we boss our brothers. So when I got in that audition, I just said, can I improvise? And Norman looked at me like, no, go ahead, just do it. Just do your thing. You know, I guess we're going to just hurry up and get out of here. But anyway, I was like, because I was like really not doing that script very well because I didn't like it. I thought it was too stiff. So I went in there and I said something to JJ, and he said something to me, and I said, let me tell you something. And I punched him on the shoulder. My God. That man looked at me like, are you out of your mind? And when I hit him on his shoulder, then he got back in my face, and I got back in his face, and Norman started laughing because that's what brothers and sisters do.
Right, right. And so there was that chemistry right there. Now, did you realize through your role as Thelma on Good Times that you were going to become television's It Girl, our first black It Girl with the Coke bottle shaped Bernadette that every girl wished they had? Did you realize you were going to have that kind of impact on the females of the world today? No way at all. I had no concept. I really didn't. I was just like, you know, doing my best, you know, and of course being on television. The really thing about the weight, the body, the whole thing on television was this. Because I, you know, had the breasts and the butt, I was like very self-conscious about the clothes because I felt like the clothes back then, when you wear the jeans and the this and these pants, they didn't have clothes that were skin tight. They only had big clothes, you know, and I looked huge on there. So I'm like, oh my God, this is not going to work. This looks terrible. So I got with the wardrobe lady, and being as a dancer, everything that I ever wore was skin tight, right? Right.
So I told her, is there any way, and this is all because I was very self-conscious, is there any way you could take these pockets out and sew them down so they won't be sticking out of my shirt and making my butt look bigger?
That's good.
And that's exactly how the clothes started to fit me like that. And so I feel like in a way that I kind of created the tight jeans. Because
I think so.
Yes, because I had them sew them down to the knee, and then, you know, and then sew them down. I was just a mess over there. I was just saying, because I didn't want to look so fat on television, and that's basically how I viewed it. So to me, you know, it came out like a Coke bottle thing, but you know what? I didn't even see it like that.
But I mean, you were the first woman that I really saw on television with curves that I remember, you know, just being, because Because, I was younger,
Right.
in the 70s. I was younger in the 70s. So, watching television, of course, we all know Good Times, the courageous young female, and you were beautiful at that. So that's what I remember. And watching it today, now I'm in my 40s, and watching it today. But it was fantastic. Now, did you know, Bernadette, I just found out today that I didn't know that the show was filmed in Los Angeles. It had such a Chicago look and a Chicago feel. I always thought the show was filmed in Chicago.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was in L.A. on a soundstage. How you like that? On a soundstage.
Had no idea.
It was, yes, and so but they made it look so much like the real deal, that and all of the actors are from back east. So quite naturally, that's where you got the flavor too.
Okay.
You got that flavor too from back east.
Because when you look out the window, like if you go back and look at the episodes, anybody's looking now, you see, however they did it through the window, you see the high-rise apartments. So it had that whole feel, of course, with the elevator. So Norman Lear did a fantastic job with that. And another thing I found out, because I love doing my research, Good Times was also based on one of the show's creators, Eric Monte's childhood. And although one of the main characters, which is Michael Evans, he was also named after one of the real creators, which was Michael Evans, who starred in All in the Family and also The Jeffersons as Lionel Jefferson. Had no idea. Did you ever work with Michael Evans? Just found that out. Okay, a late light bulbs just went off.
No, I never worked with him.
Okay.
I never worked with him, but yeah, you're right. The show was supposed to be with that was Michael Evans. Yes. Uh-huh.
And had no idea. And then it was, like I said, created after Eric Monte's childhood. So that was some really good history that I ended up finding out. Now, when your father, James Evans, he was the best dad on television. I don't know anybody else. He was a real dad.
He was a real dad.
He really was. In the Black household. How was it for the cast when he left the show? Did it leave a void when he left the show?
Oh, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, it happened like a shot because we were going to do our reading on Friday, and he wasn't there. So I'm thinking, well, maybe he's just absent for this week. And then I started reading the script, and we started reading the script, and it said something about, he died. And I'm thinking all the time that at the end of the read that he's going to appear, like it's going to be a mistaken identity, and he's going to appear back. He never appeared. It was like he was gone. And I went, when the reading was over, and I went, what? I said, well, I don't understand. And then they said, well, John will no longer be with us. I'm like, oh, my God, what? So it was like a real death to me. And when I was crying those little tears, they were real.
Okay. It kind of reminds me of corporate America, when they have someone leave, they've moved on, to other things, and we wish them well. But they don't really explain to anybody, what happened to them, especially when you're like family, you've worked together, and it's like, that's it? Gone?
Yeah, just like that. That's how it is in the world of working, I guess.
It is, and I'm going to tell you that right now. Do you still keep in touch with your castmates?
I do. I really do. I call them. In fact, about 2 months ago, we all had like a conference call. We all talked and everything, and all of us were on the phone, including Johnny Brown. But we didn't get Janet Jackson because she was busy. But we got everybody else. We got John. We got Walona. We had me. We had Michael. We had JJ, and we had John Amos and Johnny Brown.
Now, what was it like for you to see that Janet Jackson grew up to be just such a beautiful woman and the talent that came out of her when she was just a little penny on the show with you? You
know what? Janet always had the talent. It was amazing. They made her like a little girl, but she came in there talented. I mean, she would sing. She could sing. Remember they did a little show with her and Michael, and they were playing Sonny and Cher?
Yes.
You could see it right there. I mean, she was so born into the talent and the stage and all that, looking at her brothers. And then she was performing with them at times. So she was really born with the talent. You know what I mean?
Right.
And not only was she born with the talent to perform and sing, she was born with she was a great actress. I remember Norman Lear saying, "I know everybody thinks I casted Janet Jackson because of her family, but I did not. I casted Janet Jackson because Janet Jackson was the best actress for the part."
Good. I mean, that makes a lot of sense because she was just good. I mean, she played the role, especially when, Chip Fields was on there playing her mother, and then, she was being abused, and, she didn't want nobody to know, but she was in love with JJ. That was so cute, because how many little girls have been in love with somebody older? I mean, I know. So it reminded me of myself. So that was really good.
Do you want to hear something funny?
Yes.
When Esther Rowe passed away, Janet called me, and she said she was sorry and she wanted to come, but she was in Australia. But she talked to me and everything, and she asked me something. She said, "How is Michael? How is Ralph doing?" I said, "Oh, he's doing fine." She said, "Now, how is JJ? How's Jimmy?" She called him JJ. I said, "Well, he's doing fine." I said, "Why don't you just call him and see for yourself?" She said, "Bernadette, I never talked to JJ." Yeah, just like that. I went and did the same thing. I said, "What?" She said, "We never talked on the set." She said, "I never talked to him." I said, "I can't believe you. What are you talking about?" She said, "No." She said, I never had a conversation with him, ever. I never talked to him. I said, "Are you serious?" I was shocked. So I went to Jimmy and I said, "Jimmy, Janet said she never talked to you on the set." He said, "That's right. She never did." He said, "Because she's a little kid. I don't talk to kids."
Ooh. Oh. I was going to say that's a pleasant surprise, but that ain't too pleasant. At least he could have talked to his castmate.
What he said to me.
Wow.
He doesn't talk to kids.
Wow.
He doesn't talk to kids. I'm like, you're a nut. I was going to say, "You're a nut. Get out of here." But he said he never talked to her, and she said she never talked to him.
Okay, well, he just left me speechless on that, so I'm going to move on because I don't even know how to respond to that one. And moving on, let's talk about the 2 books you authored. You authored 2 books, Situations 101, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and also a collection of poetries for men only. Tell us about your books.
Okay. Well, I have a book called Situations 101, Relationships, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And that's 101 different situations. And it's like a Dear Abby sort of thing. And I have a response to each and every one of those situations. Like, they're all real. They all have happened to someone. And you know how you eventually become the girlfriend that everybody talks to?
Right.
Well, I became that. Mm-hmm. And most of my girlfriends are people like out of state, and they just call me up and tell me all their little problems, and I help them solve them. I just tell them, "Well, why don't you try this, and why don't you do this?" And I've done that for so many years. So I've had one friend that would call me, and she did this for 3 years, and this is what started my book. She did it for 3 years, and one day she called me and it felt like deja vu. It felt like I told her this. I told her this 3 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, and I felt like I was not going anywhere with this, and it shocked me. And she asked me the same question, the same thing, and I tell her the same thing over. And I said, "You know what? She's not really learning. She's just dumping on me. So what I'm going to do is write some things down." And I told her, "I'm going to write some things down, and you can put it on your refrigerator so that you can look at that. Maybe that'll help you." And when I started to write those things down, I ended up writing that whole book.
So she inspired the book. It was so many issues that she had. It turned out to be a book. Did you thank her?
I'm telling you, it was just a lot of issues that she had. But it was a lot of issues, and I started thinking about all of the issues that everybody had. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I started writing them down. And, it's amazing because, some of the issues, I've been through some things myself. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's how you learn. You go through things and you learn. And then you want to pass on information that you gathered through the years, and you want to help others. And so that's really where this book really came from. And so when people read it, they get like somebody's talking to them, like, privately. You know, they could read the issues, they could see my response, and it's private, but they've learned. They're learning something. And Sherry Shepherd loved the book. When I gave it to her, she said, "Bern Nadette, I love this book." And you know, I don't know, but I noticed that after she read my book, she got married, though.
See some secret tips on the download that she used.
She got married.
Got her a man.
And it was so cute because last year, this time, she had me on The View.
Mm.
She had me on The View with that book.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. So I don't know, maybe, she never told me it helped her, but, you know, maybe in some way it did. But I like that idea, and she helped me with that book a lot. So I thank God for that. But now, after writing that book and touring with that and doing a lot of seminars and talking to women and men, I realized that economics played a big, big part in the breakups and the misunderstandings and the fights that people have in relationships. So they sort of go hand in hand. So I started doing research, and I got with a person that knew a lot about credit and things like that, and I started learning a lot myself about finances. And I said, I have to write a little book on a 101 basis, you know, just very basic and simple, but a lot of facts and a lot of information. And I wrote that book, that financial book, because I said that, and another thing that I realized is that if a person doesn't have a good relationship with their own money, they're not going to be able to have a good relationship with anybody else with their money involved either.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they're not. You know, so you really have to know how you want your money spent, what you want to do with your money, and then you meet somebody that's in accordance with that, that agrees with you, that's working with you, not against you,
right,
not with a whole other concept. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
That was really smart. That was really good. Now, is that the book for men only? Is that the book, the poetries?
No. That book that I was just telling you about finances. That's the financial book.
Financial book.
Right, it's the Situations 101 Finances, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay. And so you had in there everything doing with relationships and finances in this book.
Right. Well, I have, in the first book, Situations 101 Relationships, that's all relationships.
Okay.
Then in the second book is Situations 101 Finances.
So you an author for real. So, Bern Nadette, you are an author for real. You had more books than I even knew. Girl, what else you got?
Yes. And then, of course, I have For Men Only.
Okay.
And that book was written. It's a poetry book.
Okay.
And it was written to go with the first book, which is the relationship book.
Okay.
And the reason why I wrote that one for the men, because I did not realize that my relationship book would be a good book for both men and women. I thought that everybody would think it was just a woman's book. So I said, I'm not going to leave my male fans out. And men don't like to read a lot, so I'm going to write a little teeny book for them.
A little pocket book.
Yeah, a little teeny book for them. And you better believe I get so many requests for that book. Men tell me, where's that black book? Where's that little black book? I said, I'm going to bring it back out. They want that little black book, you know?
Wait a minute. As they call it, the other black book. So that's good.
The other little black book.
Oh, that is fantastic. Where can people get those books? Are they still available?
Yes, they are. You can get it at my website. They just order it there. It's thelmaofgoodtimes.com, and they put their order in, and I'll send that book out to them.
That is fantastic. What other projects are you working on? Well,
right now, I finally pulled myself together. My mom passed last year, October 6th, and I'm going to write a book called The Last Night. I'm working on that with her. Did you just hear me say that? I'm working on that with her. No, I'm working on that. I know, right? I'm working on that book for her foundation that I'm getting together now, creating, and it's for the Alzheimer's Foundation. My mother died from the complications of Alzheimer's, and I want to be able to have a foundation so that I can talk to the people on the ground, like grassroots, about what this disease is, what you go through while being a caregiver dealing with this disease and watching your parent die in front of you. I mean, there's a lot that goes on with the person that has to care and give that person, and they don't talk about that. A lot of people do not address that issue. They address the stages of Alzheimer's, but they don't tell you within the stages what you're going through. And because my mother and I were like one, we were so close, it was like it's the worst thing to watch someone die that you love so much. And that's what I want to share in my book that I'm getting ready to write about that. And then I'm working on another book, but I think The Last Night will be first. But I'm going to write another book called Situations 101 Teenagers, and I'm writing that with my daughter that's 17.
Well, how nice. Because, I mean, she's right in the midst of that. So she can definitely give some pointers because of where she is right now in the state of teenagers right now.
Oh, my God. I mean, I'm storing up all the information, okay? Because she does, you know how teenagers, Mommy, I don't want to write that down. I said, write it down for me so I can write the book. Write it down. So what I'm doing is every time she tells me a story, I'm writing it down.
That's good.
Because I hear about her girlfriends, I hear about her boyfriends, I hear about the teachers, I hear about school, I hear about, you know, this internet thing, I hear about the Twitter and the Instagram, and how they really find out what the boy is about by following him on Instagram or following him on Twitter. See, because what a boy tells you and what you see are two different things.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's amazing.
I mean, this whole computer age is totally different. The texting, the sexting, like you said, you know, the Facebook, the Twittering, the Instagram, the Pinterest. I mean, all these social networks. It's amazing how it's just going in a whole nother direction. So it's not really what you say. It's what you're putting out there. It should, like they say, action speaks louder than words.
Words. It sure does.
And what you post.
Young boys, I mean, the little young boys are so funny. They don't realize that you could be traced back, and you know, and girls have big sisters or mommies that can teach them and show them, look what you're looking at.
No, that's good though. This book is definitely going to be needed for these teenagers, not just girls and boys.
Girls and boys, and I'm going to do it for girls and boys because I have had boy teenagers come to me and ask me certain things, and I had to tell them something, and it's amazing. And my daughter brought a friend of hers to me, a guy, and he was crying. He was 18. His girlfriend was 16, and he was crying, and he didn't go to his mom. And then he came to me, and I'm like, what? You know, oh my God, what am I going to say? I prayed. I said, God, let me say the right thing to this young man. And he was crying to me, and I said, what's the matter? He said, well, my girlfriend is a virgin, and she doesn't do anything with me, but I went with some other girl, and I had sex with her, and I know that I'm going to have to tell my girlfriend, and it's going to break us up, and I'm so sad. I said, well, listen. I said, well, the girl that you went with, do you like her? I mean, is that going to be an item you want to... No, I don't want that. I want my girl back. I said, oh, okay, so your girl found out about the girl? No, she doesn't know anything, but I have to tell her. I said, you have to tell her? So he said, yes, because that was our contract with each other. We said that. We said anything, we're going to tell each other everything. And I said, oh, boy, here we go. I said, well, I wouldn't recommend this, but I'm going to say this to you. Since you love your girl so much and you don't want to lose her, I don't think you should tell your girl. Oh, my God. I felt so bad when I said that, but I helped him. I really helped him. He said, really? I said, no. I just think you should let it go and leave the other girl alone. But I think you should let it go and go back to your girl and be the same way you were. I said, I don't think you should tell her. I said, because it's going to break you guys up. It really will. And if you're not ready to break up, I just think that maybe you should have learned your lesson and don't go running around with other girls. Stay with your girl and just don't say anything about this. And I felt so bad when I said that to him. But months and months later, he kept coming back. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Happy to be with his girlfriend. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I know, right? So how do you tell that? I mean, how do you, it's it's not being honest, but I had to tell him what I would do. I would tell him, I don't think you should tell her.
And I guess it saved his relationship. And I guess the young lady doesn't know. Do you know if they're still together today?
Yes, they are. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And his mother saw me at a book signing once, not too long ago, and she came over to me and said, "Thank you for helping my son out. Great advice." I'm like, "Thanks." All right.
He told his mom, "Bernadette told me, don't tell her."
Bernadette told me. Oh my God! I was like, what am I going to do? But I mean, I think that was the best advice for him,
Now, see, he going to write a book talking about the best advice I learned from having a good time. Miss Bernadette Stanis.
Just don't tell it. Well, sometimes it has to be like that,
Wow.
It just has to be like that. You get, the young kids, they don't know. As they get older, they'll know. Then they start getting slick with it. And then they start having all kind of girls, but that's not what I was telling them.
Exactly.
Don't go out with any other girls, but in this particular case, don't just keep it to yourself. You're suffering enough. In other words, I was saying to him,
Right. I want to thank you for sharing that story, and also too, I'm going to keep you in my prayers because I know at this present moment is a tough time for you since you said your mother just passed a year ago. So I'm going to keep you definitely in my prayers because this is an anniversary and those first anniversaries are very difficult. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today. I really do appreciate that. And also, too, I want to remind the listening audience to make sure you catch the new season of TV One's Life After premiering Monday on TV One at 9/8 Central, one of my favorite shows. And Bernadette, before you go, remind everyone of your website if they wanted to follow you or get more information about your books and things.
Okay, and that's ThelmaofGoodTimes.com, and my Twitter is Thelma Goodtimes.
Thelma Good Times. And are you on Facebook at all?
Yes, Bernadette Stanis is my Facebook.
Fantastic. Again, Bernadette, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really enjoyed you, and I'm not even going to watch Good Times the same. I'm going to say she really is nice in real life. Because, sometimes people aren't nice in real life, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Lady Charmaine.